Recently, Schneider National was hit with a $47 million lawsuit to the family of the late Jarvis Nance, who was a truck driver, an owner-operator who tragically was killed in an accident on August 17th, 2017. He was only 35 years old. Now, you guys, this story, when I first read it on Freightways, was very, very hard to follow, and it was very, very confusing. So please be patient with me. I'm gonna do the best that I can to summarize it, because I feel like the article was all over the place. So I hope that my summary of the events is helpful to you guys. But nevertheless, I will still link the article in the description box down below for you guys to check out. So the incident occurred on 5:30 in the morning on August 17th, 2017. Jim Nance is an owner-operator. He had a breakdown. He suddenly had to use the emergency lane. The emergency lane was the farthest left lane, if I'm not mistaken. He had to pull over to, check his truck, inspect his truck for mechanical issues. And during that time, there was a driver for Schneider. His name was Darryl Joachim. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I hope I'm not butchering it. But yes, he was driving rather recklessly. He was carelessly merging across multiple lanes of traffic, in which he cut off a driver by the name of Phillip Taylor. He was a driver for Highridge Partners. I'm trying to do this from memory, y'all. Just be patient with me. So he was the driver for Highridge Partners, and because Joachim cut him off, that caused him to ram into Jarvis Nance, the owner-operator, and the impact of the collision killed him tragically. So Darryl Joachim was a phantom driver. For those of you who don't know what a phantom driver is somebody who doesn't actually hit anybody in an accident, but rather they cause somebody else to have an accident. So Darryl Joachim was the phantom driver, and he actually left the scene. He just kept on driving. So therefore, I feel like part of that was the reason why this lawsuit was just 7 years in the making, because they recently settled June 7th, and the accident occurred back in 2017, so 7 years ago. So like I said, Darryl Joachim, he just kept driving. He was not there when the police, the paramedics, the fire department, the ambulance, he was not there when they were there. So instead, Phillip Taylor and Jim Blackwell, who was the passenger, and gosh, I'm getting these names mixed up. So Joe Blackwell was the passenger in Phillip Taylor's truck, the truck owned by Highridge Partners. They both gave their statements and said that a white tractor trailer cut them off, which caused Phillip Taylor to crash into Jarvis Nance, killing him. And like I said, he pulled away. He was not there at the accident scene. And despite them mentioning that they were cut off by this white tractor trailer owned by Schneider, Misty Nance, the widower, the wife of the late Jarvis Nance, she filed a lawsuit in April of 2018, and she didn't mention Schneider National or Joachim in the lawsuit at first. Later, the lawsuit was amended to include Schneider and Joachim in it. But eventually, Phillip Nance and Highridge Partners, they were dismissed from the lawsuit because the insurance company ended up settling with Misty Nance. But that just leaves Schneider and Joachim in the lawsuit. So what happened with them? Well, initially, Joachim lied to investigators and told them that he was at the JCPenney distribution center at the time of the accident. And that ultimately ended up being false, because there were statements made by Joe Blackwell and Phillip Taylor that put Joachim in the accident scene at the time. And this, of course, prompted Misty Nance's attorneys to ask Schneider to review the footage, review the tracking software, and ping their drivers during that time. And mind you, Schneider has 12,000 drivers. So out of all the 12,000 drivers, it was discovered that there was only one tractor trailer on 285, the Atlanta bypass, on that eventful morning. And of course, Darryl Joachim was the operator of that vehicle that was involved in that accident. So the statement that he made that he was at JCPenney was false. He was on duty driving at the time. And in fact, phone records indicate that he was very fatigued that morning because he was up for a period of 22 hours, so he did not get adequate sleep. He did not get adequate sleep prior to his driving shift. And in addition to that, based on the evidence that was uncovered, it's pretty clear that he is an accident-prone driver. For example, his NVR record was pulled and it indicated that he was involved with several incidents during his time at Schneider National. He also accumulated multiple critical events, and even a Facebook Live showed that he was trying to back up. He was trying to demonstrate to the viewers how to back up a semi-truck, but instead he ended up crashing into a pole. Like, you cannot make this stuff up. I'm not going to comment further on that, but that's just wild to me that he'd do a Facebook Live on how to back up, and he just failed at it epically. I digress. I'll move on. Joachim actually mentions that Schneider did not do much to help him when it came to, him being a safer driver, but Schneider actually put him on a 3-month performance improvement plan, which probably did not even work because he ended up accumulating 5 more critical events during that time period. And despite it being abundantly clear that he was not fit to be a truck driver, Schneider didn't even fire him for the accidents that he had while working there. Instead, Schneider fired him because he failed a random hair follicle drug test. He denied being a user. Instead, he made up the wildest excuse that someone spiked his drink. And he took the hair follicle test again, which ended up coming back positive for methamphetamines. And the thing with these hair follicle tests is that they detect habitual use. So if somebody claims that, they're just an occasional user, a hair follicle test wouldn't pick up on that. Usually they pick up on habitual users. Now, here are my feelings about the whole thing. First off, my condolences to the family of Jarvis Nance. Secondly, this incident, in my opinion, is definitely preventable. And I'm honestly surprised that Schneider did not fire Joachim sooner. Now, granted, this accident did occur 7 years ago, and perhaps they weren't as strict on safety back then. I mean, I'm sure they were strict on safety, but now I feel like they've definitely doubled down, they tripled down, they quadrupled down on safety. In fact, as a current company driver, I would argue that they're probably the strictest company in terms of safety in the country. Today, in the present day, drivers like Joachim wouldn't last very long in the company. And I know from experience, on my account specifically, they've fired people who have had multiple accidents within a short time frame. So a driver like him wouldn't have lasted very long at this company today. I know that for a fact. In fact, I've read on trucking forums that they fired people for having multiple critical events, and I feel like a lot of that had to do with him, essentially. That's just my opinion. And now, they're pretty big on safety. Now, as for training, I don't think that their training program is the best, and that's just my opinion, honestly, because on average, a dry van driver with no experience at Schneider, they can expect anywhere from 3 to 4 weeks of training, and that's it. And then they're off on the road operating an 80,000 pound death machine. And I get that some people out there like it because they can be solo faster. And I know that a lot of companies like Prime Inc., they have much, much longer training programs, and that's a turnoff for a lot of people. On the other hand, how much can you really learn in 3 weeks to be able to effectively operate an 80,000 pound death machine? Are the trainers at Schneider taking you through the Colorado Rockies? Are you dealing with an 8% downgrade during training? I personally believe that 3 weeks is just not enough time if you're inexperienced. It's just a huge learning curve to learn how to operate a truck of that size, that massive 80,000 pound death machine. And as for the $47 million, I don't know how I feel about that, honestly. I mean, that is a lot of money for a offensive driver, essentially. Joachim didn't actually hit Nance. He did cause the accident, yes, but $47 million though, that's a lot of money. But let me know in the comments down below, how do you feel about that? Because yes, he did lie, and I feel like that did play a role in escalating things. And it was proven time and time again that he's not a safe driver because of his critical events. In addition to that, he did fail a drug test. So I feel like all of that played a role in the lawsuit just being so massive. And I just feel like Schneider should have picked up on those red flags, and they should have just got rid of him sooner instead of letting a drug test be the reason why they terminate him and not his driving record. And despite Schneider putting him on the 3-month performance improvement plan, he showed time and time again that he is not cut out to be a truck driver. He still had 5 critical events during that 3-month performance improvement plan. So yeah, some people are just not meant to be truck drivers, in my opinion. And I'm sorry, that's just reality. It is what it is. And I feel like a lawsuit like this, a $47 million nuclear verdict, is very, very ruinous for smaller carriers, and I feel like that should serve as a cautionary tale for those smaller carriers. And even though Schneider, as a mega carrier, they probably can afford a big lawsuit like this, but just imagine the implications that it's going to have on the company drivers moving forward. You know, you see what happened with Prime Inc. You know, they have the AI inward-facing cameras, and a lot of people feel like that was due to a lawsuit. So could Schneider be next? You know, what safety features, what safety measures are Schneider going to implement on the drivers moving forward? We're just going to have to wait and see. Time will tell. But for now, those are my thoughts and feelings about the $47 million nuclear verdict. Is it fair? Is it unfair? Let me know in the comments down below. As always, you guys are the best audience on the internet. If you enjoy videos like this, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. I'm Tasia Woods, and I'll see you next time.